Hey folks, Steve here with a special messing about video for you today. I can't call it an unboxing, and you'll find here that technically I can't even call it an unbagging video because, well, I've already taken it out of the bag. But I'm looking at an issue of Strategy and Tactics that is, by golly, the latest issue, and that says May, June 2023, so we're time traveling a little bit. But this is for order. You can order this from the Strategy and Tactics magazine website today. I do have a few issues of Strategy and Tactics, but the reason why this one caught my eye and why I decided to purchase this particular issue, Strategy and Tactics is a fine magazine, all and well and good. But because of the included game in this issue, which is titled French and Indian War Battles, which okay, maybe not quite as striking of a name as some other games out there, but I did it because I've kind of been hankering for something that gives us some battles from the French and Indian War, which is the North American theater of the 7 Years' War. In case you're not aware of that, I suspect you would be. So for me, this proved to be a good idea to pick up and check out. So if you've watched the channel recently, you know I've played Prussia's Glory, which covers sort of grand tactical battles on the European theater of the 7 Years' War, featuring Frederick the Great and all that good fun jazz. There's also, from kind of near the same time period, a really great series called The Battles of the American Revolution from GMT Games, which covers many battles from the War of the American Revolution. And I have often said, hey, why are there not any games for the Battles of the American Revolution system that cover the French and Indian War? It's not that dissimilar. You could, in terms of era, you could probably figure out a way to do, games on the battles from that war using that system. But I've not seen anything that indicates that that's going to come to pass. So it's kind of put me out there not having a good tactical battle level game for the French and Indian War. I have plenty of strategic games or games that cover that conflict to some degree in varying methods, I might add. But the battles just don't get looked at as much. So this issue, which, I'm not even going to really do much showing of the issue of the magazine itself. This is filled with articles, lots of reading to enjoy there if you're familiar with the Strategy and Tactics subject matter and what they put into the magazine. There's actually a fair amount of content here to read regarding the decisive battles of the French and Indian War as a complement to the game. So, obviously, plenty of good reading, and in some ways can function as your sort of, game as history to accompany the game that you're playing. Read the article and enjoy. I'm fairly knowledgeable. Well, maybe not. I know enough about the French and Indian War that I don't necessarily need to read that article to get my enjoyment out of this. I do have books, and I've read plenty on the subject. I won't say I'm an expert by any means. So that's a nice, sizable magazine for you to enjoy. Quite a lot of content there. So if you like reading the magazine, hey, there's a lot of reading for you. But I'm really more interested in the game for this. And I've already, this was had some adhesive on the back and was inside the magazine itself. I've pulled that out nice and clean, and this is the rule book for the French and Indian War battles. So just kind of show what this is looking like. Here are the table of contents in terms of the way the rules are oriented. So you can see introduction, blah, 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 setting up, how does artillery work, movement, combat, zone control, all that good fun stuff, demoralization, leaders, some optional rules, and then the scenario-specific rules. And this is really the three battles titled as Lake George, 1755, Fort Oswego, 1756, and then the Battle of Quebec, 1759, designed by Joe Miranda and all these other folks involved from Decision Games. The actual rulebook format is very much Decision Games kind of formatting. It's 2-column. It's got their formatting for the tables. You might recognize this kind of format or the font and the whatnot that they usually use. But the actual rules for playing the game come out to be just around 12 pages. So this is page 12, rule, R12, rule page 2 or 12, where you cap off at learning about burning as part of the optional rule stuff, and then starts the battle specific rules and information that you would need. You can kind of see that the colors of the rule book are nice. And they pop. They've got some artwork here. They've got the banner at the top, so you won't forget what you're reading, I guess. And is generally a nice, in color rule book with examples of the counters that are being referenced. There's not much in the way of like example content here, so it's very utilitarian in that regard, other than this spread here where he kind of talks about what all the counter stuff means. So generally you have leaders that have a command value and a movement allowance. So there's Montcalm, the man, and then units, infantry units. So what scenario are they used in? Whether it's their combat factor, movement factor, reinforcement designator, more or less straightforward. For artillery, there's combat factor, range factor, movement allowance, and various other markers here. So I don't see this being a terribly complicated read. It is definitely in the decision games, Joe Miranda sort of format of rules, which should mean that they're going to be relatively easy to read. I don't know if there's going to be any real errata or issues that could crop up yet, because this just came out, so I don't think there's been a whole lot of validation of anything here. I would like to get this to the table to try out here soon. You can see some of the charts and things here on the back, supporting information like explanation of the combat results. So attacker can be disordered, eliminated, routed. There's an exchange, and then same for the defender. You can get different results from bombardment and that kind of good stuff. So kind of straightforward. And then here is the actual counter sheet. I can just tell you right now that the quality of the counters must be pretty good. They're brown core, and I can just tell by just putting a little pressure that these counters are going to pop right out of the counter sheet, lickety split, super easy. And I might even have to be careful to make sure that they don't pop out while I'm talking. So you can see there's the British and the French. Colors make a lot of sense. Though I will say it's a little, I don't like the red on red. So you've got like, your red coat on red as the counter. At that I don't like as much. Maybe you could have got away with making the counter color a lighter, almost not maybe quite pink, but a lighter red, and then having the unit art stick out more. Here for the French, it's not quite the same problem with white, because white just works a little bit better for that. But you can see the different chits being used, markers. The units all look quite nice, with the leaders having sort of portrait art assigned to them. So these all look fine, and it's not a huge amount of counters. So any given battle, there's not going to be a huge number of units. These are going to be kind of smaller, tight, little grand tactical forays, but could fit the bill for what I've been looking for. Again, why I purchased this in the first place. And then we have the map. So this comes as one map sheet, standard size. This is going to be a little hard to really show to the level that I want. The orientation is a little funky. So really this is, I think, supposed to be oriented vertically rather than horizontally like I'm showing here. So we're not going to quite get the most perfect view of this. I might have to move the camera around so you can see there's the Battle of Quebec, which is, sorry guys, it's going to be tricky. I think this is, the Battle of Quebec. So you have Quebec City off there to the left, and then the roads beyond and the terrain beyond. So that's for the Quebec battle. Then we have the Lake George here, and then there's a much smaller little map up there for Oswego. up here. Not a like, you know, you look at it, it's like that's not a very big map. So you're really getting all the battles on one map sheet, and then accompanied by various charts and tracks, the terrain chart, which is taking up a fair amount of map art space, and all that good stuff. So it is a, you know, kind of reminds me a little bit of Ted Racer's Great War in Europe Deluxe from GMT, where you had the different maps for the different fronts kind of oriented such to all fit on normal sized maps, and then you kind of have that here. There's other games that do this as well. So it's, you know, economical space rather than having multiple smaller sheets to deal with. You basically just have the, you know, the one sheet, no matter what battle that you're really choosing to fight or play. The map will be the same. You might be able to save some space, but given all the tracks and CRT stuff is there, you'll probably just want to lay it out as is. But yeah, so that's the kind of the whole package. Again, so I can have, you know, once I punch the counters, it's basically going to be a little mini bag, I guess, of, you know, the rules, the counters punched, and then the map, and that's kind of it. So for a magazine game, generally, I don't, you know, you don't expect as much from a magazine game, I guess, but if it does just enough for me, that could make it really, really valuable. So that, you know, if I'm wanting to play through all the different battles of history, and I get to the, you know, the mid gunpowder era, and I've got my Prussia's Glory, I've got my battles of the American Revolution, I at least got a little something to cover the French and Indian War at this scale rather than a strategic scale. So that seems pretty cool. So just a look there, guys. Again, I can't call this an unbagging, so we'll just call it a French and Indian War battles perusal, perhaps. And just a heads up on that. So if you've been in the same shoes as I have been, looking for a nice battle level game on French and Indian War, this might be one way to solve that for you. If there are others out there that you think deserve attention, let me know. I tend to want to steer away from things that are like commands and colors or are too abstracted. I don't want a game like that. I would prefer something that does try to simulate the battle at some level of fidelity, like Battles of the American Revolution. So if you have something like that in mind, and I apparently don't know about it, let me know in the comment section down below. If you've gotten a chance to bust this out and play it already and have thoughts, let me know that too, because this is still an unknown factor for me until I get to playing it myself. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in another video in the future. Otherwise, take care. Keep on gaming.